Where do you see this movement going? I mean, there's some who say, well, look, the cold weather's coming. It's going to start to snow. It's going to snow in Philly tomorrow, maybe in New York. Where do you see this Occupy movement going?
The snow and the winter is not going to stop the collective anger of tens of millions of Americans who have suffered as a result of the economic policies of corporate America. If you think a little bit of snow or cold weather, I mean, I think it will only harden people's resolve, frankly. I think everyone is prepared for the long haul. If it is a long haul, I'm hoping for actually a short haul, because when tens of millions of people speak up and they get up off the sofa and leave the House and participate in their democracy, you know, the top 1%, they only get 1% of the votes. They try to buy the rest of the votes, and they've been pretty successful at doing that. But, you know, when the curtain closes, they can't put their hand on my hand to pull the lever. Those top 400 richest Americans who have more combined wealth than 150 million Americans combined, 400 have more than 150 million combined. They can have all the money they want, but as long as our Constitution is still in effect, they only have one vote, and that is the good news to this movement.
But where does it go in terms of, you know, we saw early on the Tea Party eventually fielding candidates, eventually having a big impact on the Republican Party and continuing to. Do you expect to see candidates from this movement, you know, rising up? Do you expect to see an impact on the Democratic Party because of this?
Yeah. This movement is so beyond just, hey, let's get behind this candidate, get them elected to office. Those days are over. You know, we've all worked for candidates. We've all voted. We've all participated. And what have we gotten out of it? We've all written to our congressmen and women, please pass House Bill number 3428. What did we get? Where are we? We're in the worst shape we have been, this country, that I've seen in my lifetime. And so this movement is not concerned right now with candidates or specific bills in Congress. Our first job right now is to build this mass movement, which is building, this is what's so great about it, on its own. You know, we don't have to go and spread the seeds of this. The seeds are everywhere. They've been spread by Bank of America and Citibank and Chase and Goldman Sachs. They've created this movement, really. And I hope, if any of them are watching right now, if they're sitting there in New York or wherever, Connecticut, I hope they're thinking about how they overplayed their hand. If they had just been just a little bit greedy, like they always were, as long as people, you know, had a job and they could have a roof over their heads and send the kids to college, nobody really put up much, you know, fuss about it. But being a little greedy wasn't enough. They had to go the full Monty. They had to try and get everything. And I think that's what did it. That's what organized this.
Well, last night in the program, we had a really interesting debate between Professor Cornel West, and a businessman named Peter Schiff, who actually had gone down to the protest in New York. I just want to play a little soundbite from something Peter Schiff said and just have you respond to it. Peter, one thing we haven't seen a lot at Occupy Wall Street protests is Wall Street businessmen like yourself going down there. What are you trying to accomplish in doing that?
Well, you know, I sympathize with the situation that they have, but I'm trying to help encourage them to direct their anger towards Washington. You know, it's big government that has wrecked the U.S. economy, not capitalism. They need to understand that. And if they really want a bright future for this country, it's capitalism that's going to provide it, not government.
What do you think he does not get?
Oh, my God. Oh, wow. That's such a huge disconnect. I'm afraid anything I would say would be just too mean. And
I'll tell you, Professor Cornel West said that he needed both to sit down with him over coffee and cognac, because it would require that to kind of come to some sort of understanding.
Yes, I think so. I think what Mr. Schiff doesn't understand is that the reason we're not occupying Congress or D.C. right now is because the congressmen and the senators are the employees of Wall Street. They work for Wall Street. They're funded by Wall Street, and they do the bidding of Wall Street and K Street, which is the lobbying arm of Wall Street. So we're kind of tired of going and dealing with the middleman or the servant we'd rather go to the big house and take it there, because that's really where the problem is. It is with capitalism. It is with corporate America. Capitalism right now, and it's important to define a word in its present form. Just like you wouldn't define the word marriage as a woman has to get permission from her father in order to marry. But that was the definition 100 or 200 years ago. So let's not use the old definition when we say capitalism, we're talking about 2011. 2011 capitalism is an evil system set up to benefit the few at the expense of the many. That's what's happened, and that's what people are sick tired of, and which is too bad for the capitalists, because I think a lot of people, perhaps in this crowd, probably used to support the old style of capitalism.
So what system do you want?
They've completely lost them. Well, there's no system right now that exists. We're going to create that system. This movement in the next year or two or few years is going to create a democratic economic system. That's the most important thing. Whatever we come up with, it has to have at its core, the American people are going to be the ones controlling this economy. We're going to have a say, a big say, the say, in how this economy is run. That say cannot happen by the people in the penthouse offices on Wall Street. That is over. That is over. We've declared it over. Now it's just a matter of time until we actually make this happen, when we bring democracy, true democracy, to this country. We're no longer settling for, oh, we live in a democracy because I can vote for a politician. No. True democracy means I also have a say in my future, and I have a say in how this economy is run. And you're not going to use me and abuse me like this. I mean, how many people have, we talk about the people who've lost their jobs. How about the people who still have jobs? You know what their job is now? Like if you're working on an assembly line in Flint or Detroit, you're not doing the job of one or two or three. I'm sorry, one person is doing the job of 2 or 3 people. They've killed the other ones off, and now everyone's got to work harder, longer hours, for less pay, less benefits. The damage that this has done to people, to their physical lives, to their mental lives, to their families, I just think there's so much carnage as a result of capitalism, 2011 capitalism, that they overplayed their hand, and now the people are going to come up with a better system that's going to be run by the people.
Michael Moore, appreciate your time. Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Anderson, for being here and giving voice. And remember, I'm only one voice here. Everybody here has a story. Everybody in this movement is a spokesperson and a leader.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you.